Oakley Scott Corporation, and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody. Welcome inside to a Tuesday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com. Anthony Hartwig with you and joined by Ty Bartell. Ty, how we doing on this wonderful Tuesday?
Doing real good. We got boys tournament action tonight. We have some girls ones to look forward to as well on Wednesday. So, busy night, busy week, just going into the second day of it.
Girls tournament tonight, too. West Branch and Salem, both in action in Barberton in the regional semifinals. A lot to talk about, a lot to get on the show today. We're going to be joined any minute now by Blaze X-Line, the Salem football standout that is committed to Ohio State.
Yeah, and exciting news for another one of our student athletes, too. And X-Line, the X Factor. You saw him on the football field. You'll see him again, too, on the baseball diamond here coming up in the spring as he does play both sports. So one more time for Salem fans to see X-Line before he goes off down to Columbus to become a Buckeye.
Deidre Watson is going to join us at 12:15 to talk about her team's district championship and their aspects and what they're looking for their regional semifinal game against Waynedale. Then at 12:45, Abby Davidson, one of the starters of the Salem girls basketball team, going to join us to talk about their regional semifinal game tonight and what she expects out of that. And then all of a sudden, all at 1:40, Carrie Palermo, the head coach of the boys Mooney basketball team, going to join us as well. They are in action tonight in their district semifinal.
Yep, so a little bit of boys coaches, a little bit of girls coaches, some student athletes, and it's a nice packed show here today on a Tuesday for Running Point.
Packed indeed, ready to go. And Ty, as we await Blaze X-Line, really quickly, let's look at some of the stuff that happened over the night. And I guess the first one we talked about, the one that was the most electrifying, the most exciting, I guess you would say, result of the night, Jefferson beats LeBray in overtime.
Yeah, and this already guarantees one half of the district final now. The other one is waiting on Middlefield Cardinal and Camel Memorial, but they know they will have the Jefferson Falcons waiting on the other side, no matter who wins in tonight's matchup versus 2 versus 10. And it should be a fun one, too, because this is a Jefferson Falcons team that's looks sharp.
You know, unlike the girls, the guys play one day and then the other team in the district semifinal play the other. So Jefferson's going to have a chance to go and scout Camel tonight.
Yeah, and a little bit of advantage Jefferson now, too. But also, whoever wins tonight knows what's ahead of them immediately after the game.
Let's welcome in Blaze X-Line as he pops in to join us today. Blaze, what are we doing? How are we doing today?
What's up, guys? Nothing much. Just getting out of class.
Getting out of class, and you had some big news you announced last night too.
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you break the news on again which college. I know we previewed it for you. Break the news on why you chose OSU though, and why this school is the one you wanted to go to.
Yeah, so I'll be going to Ohio State. I think I chose this school over some of the other schools that I was talking to just because I believe that it's better to take the chances than maybe the other chances you'd get, because you don't get this opportunity other places. It's rare you get this, so I wanted to take the chance.
You talk about opportunity. This is like every little football player's dream when they're growing up in the state of Ohio. They want to play on Ohio State. This is the program. This is the dream. What's it like to kind of see this dream get accomplished and say that now you're committed to Ohio State and you can kind of put that Buckeye next to your name.
It's crazy. I mean, it is something I've always wanted because, I've watched them, all my years growing up. So for it to happen it's crazy because it's exactly what I've wanted. So I'm going to be looking forward to it when I go into, June and July and I'm, finally working right beside the team. So it's crazy.
What do you accredit Salem football on this journey to getting you to this point to? In other words, who are some people inside that Salem football program that have helped you out tremendously along the way?
All the coaches. We have a ton of coaches. Not even of course, my wide receiver coach, of course. He coaches all of us exactly how you'd want to be coached. And then just every coach down to the lineman coaches, the linebacker coaches, every coach. And then, of course, my head coach, he's just the greatest coach, of course. And then my quarterback, he of course throws dimes. And then, of course, my teammates, everyone's great to have around.
And talk about also the level of football you guys play at Salem. You play a lot of big teams. It's not like you're going into a cupcake football schedule, a high level of football that you have to play every week. How's that going to kind of prepare you for stepping into the next level as well?
Yeah, that's very true. But of course, I want to take the chance and just kind of show that, I can play and it's going to, I can prove it to people. So that's what I'm looking to do.
What are you most excited about going down to Columbus for? Or is there something maybe you're even nervous about going down to Columbus for?
Yeah, it's a nervous experience, but it's also a fun experience. There's a lot to experience down there. It's a big football program. You'll meet a lot of people and stuff, and I just think it'll be a fun time overall.
When you talk about being a student athlete at Ohio State, obviously the time commitment and the classwork is going to be, Ohio State's prestigious for their education along with their football. What are you looking to kind of go into? Do you know what kind of major or what kind of track you want to learn about at Ohio State?
Not exactly, but there's, like I said, a lot to do. So I'm sure I'll find it out. But there's a lot of people you'll meet, a lot of things you'll talk about. So, I'm sure I'll figure it out eventually. So that's the good thing about going down there and being around all those people. So
they'll get you in a lot of core classes too in your first year anyway. So they'll mix you around. Talking about just going down to Ohio State and just the coaching program and just the football minds that are down there. What are you kind of most excited about to kind of try to pick the brains of these coaches to try to help you out with the next level?
Well, I really like Coach Hartline. He's a pretty good coach. So, I'm excited to go down there because, they have a lot of great receivers that come out of that school. So I'm excited to see what, he'll teach and I'll be able to learn from that. So
you guys, before we let you go, we got to talk about this baseball season on the horizon.
Yeah.
Sorry about my dog, but my baseball season on the horizon. What are you looking forward to most about the spring sports season?
I'm looking to repeat what we did last year and even go a little bit farther. I think we have all the pieces, and yes, we did lose some pieces last year, but I think we have everything from last year and maybe a bit more. So I'm looking to win some more games and even advance farther than last year. So
it'll be your final sports season too with Salem in that community. Just talk to me a little bit about how much this community has meant to you along the ride and how proud you are to say you are a Quaker and you're going to graduate a Quaker at the end of the day.
Of course, very proud. I think everything I've done as a Quaker has been very, very achievable. I think in everything I've done as a Quaker, it's just been super fun. We've achieved so much. In baseball, we won the district title. No one has done that for a long time except for my coach's team, which is crazy. And then football, we've done insane. It's just been pretty great being a Quaker.
What is going to be some of your favorite memories with the school system after you graduate? You're getting closer and closer to graduation. Eventually, you're going to have to start reflecting. What have been some of your favorite memories in the school system at Salem?
See, it's kind of a hard one, but I'd say all my friends and stuff. That's definitely true. All my teammates. A lot of my favorite teammates and stuff. Of course, there are lower classmen and stuff. Some of them have left, and teammates, of course, some of the coaches and stuff, because I'm not going to see them. But then of course the stuff we've achieved and left behind us for the younger people to try to achieve also. So yeah.
Blaze, real quickly, shout out your support system for me and those people that have been there with you every step of the way in the stands and have had your back.
Well, yeah, thanks for all my parents and stuff. I mean, they've done so much. And then, of course, everyone really. I mean, so many people have been so supportive for everything. So just thank you to everyone.
Blaze, I want to take the time to thank you for coming on the show today. We appreciate it. We appreciate all the time that you've been able to give us. And this is the second time you've been on Running Point. So we definitely appreciate all of that. And good luck the rest of the way. We look forward to seeing you in Ohio State.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Blaze.
Blaze X-Line, the X Factor, committing to Ohio State. He'll be going down there to play football in the fall. But before he does all that, he's got a pretty big baseball season coming up.
Yeah, and take a peek at any of Salem's football games. All can be conveniently found on YSN Live's page, too. You can go to the Salem Quakers page and find the entirety of the football season all available for purchase, and you could catch some Blaze X-Line games. And don't forget, I don't know if you guys have seen Salem broadcast. They do a great job for their football broadcast, too. So, yeah, it's well worth the money to go back and purchase. If you haven't seen some of his games, too, it's definitely worth it. Ohio State, they got a pretty good one here, and I'm excited to see how far X-Line could go in that program.
Talk about a pretty good one. I mean, we're going to perfectly segue into a district champion head coach and Deidre Watson joining us from Liberty. Coach, got you back on. We said last week we might get you back on. Here we go.
Good times. Good times. Great to be a Leopard right now.
Coach, talk to me a little bit about this team and the mentality going into this Brookfield game, because, I mean, I might be totally wrong in my perception of this, but it seemed like after that one loss of Brookfield, we saw a different attitude in this team. And I don't know if it was a meeting you had that woke them up, but they looked like they had a different mentality, and that carried over into this game. What did you see that they did well against Brookfield, and what were kind of the keys to the games that you saw?
Well, after that loss, after every game, we always have a meeting and we talk about things that we did well, things that we need to work on. So that loss from Brookfield, I clearly remember them saying, we don't want that feeling again. So we pretty much just talked about things that we could have done better. They watched the film, they saw themselves, and they made a commitment moving forward that some of the mistakes that they made before they wouldn't do again. And that was more about hustle, making sure you're moving on offense and communication.
In one of your post-game interviews, I really liked reading what you said about the defensive effort and, trying to stop Sophia Hook. You called her the heart of the Brookfield offense, and if you stop the heart, you slow down the body. Talk about what kind of effort it took to slow her down. I think you held her to 2 points total all game. Obviously a tremendous player in your conference. Talk about your defense and how proud you are of the effort on such a tremendous talent.
The hats off goes to Kylie Thomas. She was definitely our defensive guru that night. She was in charge of face guarding Sophia Hook that night. In addition to that, whenever she got the ball, we kind of put them it wasn't a box and one. We were more in a diamond formation. Anybody that was close to Hook was immediately on the double team. So that was going to take communication and things like that. We also had to worry about a few of their shooters. There was Reardon. She can definitely knock it down. So it was just great communication on their part, knowing where their shooters are, knowing where there were soft points in the zone. And they just had an outstanding defensive effort.
Must be exciting having the top three scorers on the team only be juniors or less too. You get guaranteed with them another year. But just talk to me a little bit about the seniors that are on the team, what they provide leadership wise, and also some of the other players that you've seen step up along the way too and have been huge role players.
Yeah, well, I can't stop singing my praises about Jordan. She had played her freshman year, and then she took 2 years off. So for her to come back this year, she's always been a leader in her own right. Even when she was a freshman, she was very vocal, opinionated, not afraid to call people out and get them to work harder. So she is a tremendous loss for us as a senior leaving. We also have Kylie. Kylie is a sophomore as well. I just talked about her defensive prowess. We also have Mia Parker. Mia comes in off the bench and she gives great energy. And then we'll have another senior, Tiana Weatherly. Tiana was a transfer this year, and she came from East. She is actually from Japan. So, her start was a little bit slower. She kind of came from Japan, and so she started JV. She started the season late, but she's transformed to definitely one of the toughest 6 men in the area to me.
Coach, when you look at, like Ty said, the youth of this roster and how a lot of people are going to be coming back next year, however far this run goes, I got to imagine the experience now in regionals, and if you get further into Dayton, would be just pay dividends into next year, filling all those experience box marks and bringing almost everybody back for another run next year.
Absolutely. The experiences, more than you can imagine. We didn't make the district final last year. We think we were out a little bit further, but when Demi and Sienna were freshmen, we had lost to the district semifinal, and so they knew from that experience what it took. And I think the experience gives you a different take on it. So getting out in this regional and getting that atmosphere, it's going to be different for them. It's going to be that much better for them going into senior year because they're going to know what it looks like. If you know what it looks like and what it feels like, you're going to perform better.
How important do you think winning the actual league, the conference this year in the regular season was in getting and generating that momentum going into this postseason run?
The conference title was definitely something that they wanted to achieve, and our conference is so tough. I think we had 4 tough teams that it was kind of up in the air between Garfield and Champion, ourselves, and Brookfield was in there too. So it's a battle day in and day out, and I think that our conference play helps us as far as tournament play and bracket play as it comes, because it gives you that that tough spirit, that winning spirit. You have to fight for it every day. So I love our conference because it's always challenging for us.
All right, Coach, let's preview this game you got coming up next against Wayndale. I'm sure you've had time to look at their film and break them down. They were obviously in this regional last year. They won this region and went to state last year. I know they lost a couple of pieces, but still a very quality team. What have you seen from Wayndale, and what challenges do they kind of face? And what kind of do you guys have to do to win on Wednesday night?
They definitely like to shoot a lot of threes, and they're very long. We don't have necessarily that much of height, so I guess that would be something that we would have to worry about. As far as speed and athleticism, I definitely think that's a check in our box. We're just going to have to go out and play hard and leave it all out in the court. But I definitely think this is a winnable game for us.
From game 1 of the regular season, I know we had chances to talk before then, all the way until now, right before a district final, regional semifinal, excuse me. What has been the biggest point of growth that you've seen from this team from game 1 until now?
I'm gonna have to point out Sienna Smith. She's our point guard, and I think her growth from the beginning of the season until this season has been twofold. She's definitely matured out. Running the offense a lot better, being able to handle the pressure. Our big 3 have matured out a lot. I would say last year they would kind of get frustrated and sort of stop, and I'm not seeing that this year. As the game gets tougher, they get tougher. So that would be my strongest growth area, I would say.
For all of your players, this is kind of the first time on this stage in regionals. They're going into Cuyahoga Falls. It's a big gym. You're going to have a big atmosphere. What's the game plan to kind of calm the nerves and not let the stage get too big and try to keep it as much of a normal basketball game as possible?
Yeah, we had a big conversation about that yesterday. I think even at Struthers, a couple of our girls kind of got rattled about the crowd and things like that. And, I just talked to them about, being mentally tough and, quit worrying about the crowd and what they say. And they're faceless for, all intents and purposes. And one of my girls in particular struggled with it. And I said, well, who said it? What'd they look like? And she didn't know who it was. And I said, that's exactly my point. It's a faceless person. And I said, don't worry about it. Just worry about your game and, tunnel vision it. If you want to win it, you got to block that stuff out. After we had that conversation, they kind of got it. I think this crowd is going to be a lot bigger and a lot louder too, and you're just going to have to be mentally tough and be prepared for it.
How important is it then to have that Liberty faithful follow you guys and kind of counteract that away crowd and be there to support you guys through it?
It's going to be very, very important. You know, a crowd is a sixth man on the court for you, whether it's for or against you. And you definitely need your crowd there for support. So, you know, hopefully our fans will come out and give us all the support that we need.
Before we let you go, I want you to kind of, if you had to pick, you know, everyone knows about your top 3 scorers, but maybe someone under the radar that might come up big that you see a matchup against, or you see someone that might be able to have a big game against Waynedale. Who's a name that you think people should keep an eye on?
Tiana Weatherly.
I love it. Just quick, total confidence. Tiana Weatherly, let's go.
Can't give away too much of the playbook, Anthony. We can't let Waynedale know what we're bringing to the table here.
Yeah, you know.
But now this looks to be a fun matchup, Coach. Again, congratulations on the entire season so far. We wish you the best of luck against Waynedale, and we hope we're talking about you guys in a regional championship here on the other side of it.
Yeah, Coach, let's get you back on. This is so fun.
Let's do it.
Do it. Congratulations, Coach. We hope to talk to you again real soon.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
You as well. Deidre Watson, Liberty Girls Basketball.
One of my favorites. I don't know if you got to see some of the pictures that Gary Leininger, one of our wonderful photographers at YSN, took of this district championship game, but the elation from Coach Watson on the sidelines when the buzzer went off, hands up in the air like this, you know, doing the spread eagle. Oh man, such an energetic coach. He brings so much energy to the sidelines, and I think her team really feeds off of it too.
I mean, I love our coaching style too. I mean, it's like we said too, there's no two coaches really that seem exactly the same, and that's a beautiful thing. There's no one way to success in a coaching style. The only one thing, and I think as long as you keep it about the kids, is what all coaches say. That's the one thing. You could do it any other way. I love the comment on faceless people though, as far as just trying to take crowds out of the game too and not let them be a mental advantage, and that's a great point too, and that's a great way to draw an example to a player as well too. Just saying, you see their face, you know who said it. If not, who cares then?
And you know, I mean, you and I both know that as much as we love student sections, there can be times when something gets said that you could really let rattle you, and making sure that you know that you don't even know who said it, and you can't let that kind of – I liked how she said tunnel vision, because you got to have it.
You got to have tunnel vision, absolutely. But in that same breath, too, you got to know how to be a good crowd supporter, too. Know where to draw the line in the stand, and don't cross over that line. Because
that's definitely been a big talking point in the national media on crowd support, what crowd should do, what crowd shouldn't do. And I think in college we saw a big example
with
of
that
what crowds shouldn't do in Washington and Jefferson, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I mean, like that's an example of like know where to take it. And I mean, like when
that's way
like,
past the line.
There's
a line.
There's a personal line in the sand that you just.
What happened at Washington and Jefferson went way over there.
You're trying, like, I mean, when you start getting that personal with it, it's not worth it to do that for sports.
You remember JJ Reddick and Duke? And there was a documentary about some of the stuff that he had to deal with in crowds. Because he was like a 99, not 99, but he was like a 93% free throw shooter. So the crowds went through really dramatic efforts to try to get him off his game when he went to the free throw line. And there were some really just personal, nasty, disgusting things that student sections would try to throw at him to get him off his game at the free throw line. And it's really sad that sometimes, especially in a high level basketball, these kids have to deal with, you know, that kind of thing being kind of thrown out at you.
Yeah, I mean, but in the same breath too, I mean, like we said, you just got to kind of you ignore it, because I mean, it's hard to try to stop them. But I mean, you got to, at the same breath too, you also have to try to limit it as well. Like I said, you got to be a good crowd supporter as well. Be a good.
I've always been amazed at how players can ignore the negative crowd, but then feed off the positive crowd energy and decipher between the two, and be able to just blank out one side and hear and feed into the other without just completely dimming out everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's tunnel vision, but I mean, I don't think you necessarily block out the crowd. You still hear the negative crowd, but you just don't.
There are some players that say they don't hear anything during the game. It's
I guess the players that get into, like, Yeah, get into a superb focus too. But I mean, it's hard not to hear one side of the crowd and then hear the other side. But
that might be a good thing to ask Abby Davidson, who's coming on at 12:45. I know they get loud crowds, and they're going to have a loud one in
get into the
regionals
zone.
tonight. How does she deal with the crowds on both sides? How does she deal with the opposite crowd, and how does she deal with trying to feed off her own crowd too?
Yeah, but I mean, have fun with it. Be a fun fan. Throw those jokes out there. It's fun sometimes to get a little personal with the jokes too, depending on the joke. But know where the line in the sand is, and try not to cross it. It's important to be a good fan and a good spectator at a sporting event as well.
Back to some basketball scores real quick for you. From last night's district semifinals. I keep losing track of where the boys are compared to where the girls are. We're in regionals, we're in districts, we're everywhere. Lowville ended the game on a 13-5 run against Heartland Christian to come away with a 73-67 win over the Lions and advance into the district championship. Late in the game, with about 2.5 to go, the Lions had a 62-60 lead, and the Rockets just finished really strong in that fourth quarter. Like I said, a 13-5 run in the final 2.5 of the game, and they got the win by 6.
When this team's healthy, they have so many avenues to go to for scoring. Besides Lucente, you also have Banovsky. You also can go Balone. Heck, even Dubos can put up points for you as well. I mean, this is a team that all 5 can put up double digits in scoring. And that's just the thing. It's so hard to contain Lowville, all of them, the entire 8 minutes without one going off or one making their shots. Law of averages plays out. I give Heartland and Coach Scott a heck of a job, though, on all the credit on a heck of a job this season. Came that close to beating Lowville, too. Again, second time this season, and that's a very, very good Lowville team. All the props to the Lions, too, winning a couple of tournament games and getting to this point in the season.
Well, remember what we said yesterday. All you can really ask from a basketball team is to have a chance to win at the end of the game. And Harlan had their opportunities. They had a 2-point lead with 2.5 to go. And unfortunately, the ball didn't bounce their way in the final minutes of the game. But they were there. They were right there. They had opportunities to win.
1 or 2 runs you look at, 13-5 is the last one that a lot of people are going to circle and say that's the one.
How about Warren JFK, man? Were they on another level on Monday night or whatever you want to say last night? 70-52, they take care of Wellsville and they end the Tigers season a class above for Warren JFK.
Coach K at Warren JFK has told us too this season that this team will be peaking at the right time, and they went through their little lumps in the early on in the season, playing some really tough.
I mean, I'd go through some lumps too.
Yeah, I mean, with the tough schedule that they play, they went through their some lumps. But that's also important to note, though, too. Is I mean, you can't just always just say the schedule. Okay, they're going to take their lumps. I mean, these are still student athletes that have to take in losses and accept them and know how to come back from them. And Coach K and the student athletes at JFK do a great job of when they suffer those losses too, because they're playing tougher competition, on refocusing and not letting that linger. And I think that's an important thing to note for JFK. And that's probably why they have so much success year in and year out. Congratulations to them again, beating Wellsville. Moving on again, Warren JFK. Eagles always seem to do this during this time of the year.
And because the boys' tournaments are more spread out, you had 4 district semifinals last night. You're going to have 4 more tonight instead of you get later nights, but you also get more and more action every night spread out. So you're going to get action tonight. You're going to get action tomorrow night, Thursday night, Friday night. I mean, every day of the week there are some boys' games. I mean, I don't know. Like the girls had like 8 games in a night, which is nice for the pay-per-view fans because they're paying $9.99 for 9 games. But the boys have like 4 a night, which is nice for the fans because they only have to keep track of 4 games that are going there. And it's nice for the fans that they can go to each semifinal. You know what I'm saying? Like the teams can scout each other, yada, yada. But it's interesting that the dynamics between the two and the pros and cons of both. And what do you think about the difference between having the semifinals on the same night versus different nights? Is there a major difference? Is it a talking point, or do you think it's just kind of something we should leave alone?
I mean, I feel like just having it on multiple nights is is okay. And I feel like also too what it kind of does is in case you have snow days in this time of the year,
That's
it
very
also
true.
gives you the flexibility because then you say I have Howland for February 28th and March 1st. So if we get snowed out the 28th, we could just slide them over to the 1st and just do a double header then. I feel like it allows more flexibility that way too. I could be wrong in that aspect, but I feel like that goes into it.
Here's
But
something.
also
Here's
just
something
having
that's just a devil's advocate, Ty. Though Jefferson gets to practice tonight, and Camel has to go and play a game. They won't get to prepare for Jefferson until tomorrow. So there is always going to be a team that gets an extra day of preparation with this setup.
yeah, they will get an extra day of preparation, but I mean, in this case, yeah, Camels a favorite in this one, but anything can happen too. So who are you preparing for? They could be preparing a whole day for
Yeah,
Camel,
like
and then
I,
Cardinal
I
pulls off an upset, and then it's like, oh wow, that's a whole day where now we have to prepare
that's
for
very
Cardinal.
true. And I bet Camel was kind of maybe yesterday. Their practice was probably partly mostly dedicated to Cardinal, but there was probably a little bit of Jefferson in there too.
Exactly. Because and same thing with Cardinal too. It's like, yeah, we're going to prepare for Camel, but you maybe throw one or two things in there for Jefferson because now whoever comes out of that game, they know they have Jefferson after this.
But no, there's the thing though. Yesterday, if you were going to do that, you'd have to prepare for LeBray too, because you had no idea who was going to come out of that game. It was
Yeah.
such a toss up. You couldn't say, "Hey, we're going to prepare for Jefferson," and I don't think coaches are sitting there saying, "Okay, we're going to dedicate a practice to get ready for Cardinal and scouting LeBray and Jefferson." Like that's a lot to throw at kids.
Yeah, but I think coaches are definitely too. I think the coaches have been watching the entire day
Oh
film
yeah,
on
they're prepared.
Jefferson right
They
now.
were. I bet Coach Canarino and his staff were prepared for Jefferson and LeBray before that game ended. Like they were fully prepared on a game plan for both. They were fully prepared on a practice schedule for both because you got to be.
Well,
You
but
got to be
now the
ready. You
benefit is
can't
you can
be.
go in
You
and
can't
tweak.
be. Sorry, you can't be reactive in tournament time. You got to be able to be okay. We're either going to play this team or this team. We have to have something ready for both, and once the final is set, we have to know exactly what we're going to do as a practice schedule and everything. We can't be reactive. So if they were planning right now about Jefferson and they had no plans before last night, I think that would be a mistake by the coaching staff.
Yeah, I think there's probably plans in place, and if we win, kind of plan scenario.
Right.
Here's what we're going to be doing to prepare for Jefferson. That's already in place. Where Jefferson's kind of right now, like, all right, we're expecting Camel to win, so like, here's what we're going to do.
Jefferson's got to do both too. Like the
Prepare for
practice.
them, but we also got to throw something in for Cardinal because just in case Cardinal wins, we need to make sure we're prepared for them too.
There's another thing though. Like Jefferson got to practice today, but then does that leave them in like the practice after school in practice and then get their butts over to Howland? Because that's a trek from Jefferson to Howland. So get their butts down to Howland and try to scout Camel as well.
Every coach is different too, so I mean, it's different mentalities for all of them. But this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be very interesting too, seeing who comes out of this one. We are gonna have an interesting matchup too. I hope it's obviously Camel for YSN purposes because I think a Camel Jefferson matchup, one we haven't seen yet, and it's one we don't get to see too often. I think that's gonna be a very fun one to see between the Falcons and the Red Devils.
Ty, I know you've had the chance to kind of research this Cardinal team that Camel's playing because you're going to be on the call tonight with Noah Ricks. Talk about what you've seen from Cardinal, what people should expect from them. I mean, and what kind of threat they pose to Camel.
I was muted.
I was about to say what.
Looking
Right,
at Cardinal, yeah, they're a solid team. They were 14-10 this year. They're 8-7 in conference play. Some teams that they played this year that we're familiar with or we've seen on YSN. They've lost to Garfield 66-59 in the season. They've lost to Matthews 58-50. They lost to Kirtland 71-48. Beat them later in the season 55-34. Beat Rootstown 70-51, which Camel just saw. Beat United Boys 58-49. And then, yeah, Grand Valley 56-45 on their way here. So, I mean, looking at this too, their 14 wins. I haven't gotten to go through and see the exact record for all of them, but their wins are against teams like Pie Valley and Fairport Harbor, Harding, Crestwood.
You tell me those scores and you tell me those teams and what I mean. I don't mean any disrespect to Cardinal, but it's screaming mismatch. Like
I mean,
screaming
and then
mismatch.
I'm just to give the Red Devils their due respect, and you go through their schedule, and I just want to point out just the division above Division 3 teams that they've beaten this year that are just quality opponents, I think, as well as just winning in set. Badger not D3, but beating Badger this year is still a good win for them in D4. Let's see. Of course, going undefeated in that Gray Conference as well. They beat Western Reserve by 30 in the Scarlet. Beat Cheney D2. That was a big win. Beat Fitch by 11. That's D1. That was a big win too. And just, yeah, I mean, right down the line too. I just also feel like the conferences that Cardinal plays in and the conference of the MVAC Gray side is just, I just feel tougher. And I mean, I might be biased just because I know these teams in and out on the Gray side of the MVAC, but I just feel like competition top to bottom. You see what LeBray can do. You see what Garfield can do, what Brookfield, what Liberty can do. Crestview's never a pushover team. I mean, these are all tough teams that you have to go in and play. And Camel ran the gauntlet. They went 14-0, perfect 14-0 on the Gray side of the MVAC. Only suffered one loss in the season, and then add in the big wins that they've had over like Division 1 Fitch. I consider a big win, and I consider it a huge win over Division 2 Cheney in the regular season as well. And I think that game against Cheney is really what made everyone realize and kind of open their eyes to this Camel team is, okay, they are one of the better teams in the area.
You know, much more than this game, if Camel wins the next game, Jefferson will have a comparable schedule because Jefferson plays the division up teams, Hubbard and Poland twice, Hubbard twice, Jefferson, Struthers twice, South Range. You know, they're in that NE8, which, you know, maybe not the best basketball conference in the area this year, but a lot of big teams that just play. Like we've seen, as you go up in division, the level of basketball just changes.
It does.
I mean, with Division 2, the level is just a little bit tick higher than Division 3 tournaments, especially in districts. I mean, for example, I mean, you watch that Division 1 district tournament. It's ridiculous. The talent level everywhere is nuts. And then Division 2, it's a little bit more spread out, not as much as Division 1. And then you get the Division 3 where, you know, you have the teams like Camel and Springfield, but then you have like the Cardinal teams that have kind of played a Division 3-4 schedule. They get in there and they've had a good year, but their schedule just doesn't line up with some of these teams like Camel. So we'll see what happens. I'm not trying to slight Cardinal because everyone that gets here deserves to get here. They won to get here, and you got to give them respect when you get to this level of basketball. But at the same time, you tell me those scores and you tell me those teams they played, and it's just screaming mismatch for the Huskies.
Yeah, and I mean, it does scream mismatch for the Huskies, but we'll see what they can bring to the table.
Hey, you know what? I mean, it screamed mismatch for Fitch when they went to Dover too. So
yeah, absolutely. You never know what can happen.
We know that.
I just think the scoring prowess of so many guys on Camel now. Like if you go back and watch the Rootstown tape on just how many guys are stepping up and how efficiently they're scoring the basketball now. It's not just Kevin Moore and Xavier Leonard and Jameer Weaver. Christian James hit 5 threes. CJ had 15 points in that game. And then you have guys like Deshaun Will that are scoring in double digits as a freshman. Isaiah McCray coming off as a freshman, given big minutes. I mean, there's 8 seniors on this team, and everyone's contributing with points. Everyone's moving the ball. They look like a well-oiled machine, and they look like they're hitting their peak right at the right time.
And because of that, it's hard to stop Kevin Moore because you can't just double him. You can't just.
Well, it's like if you double him and you know everyone else can either smack down a 3 or take it to the hole and dunk on you. Like, I mean, it provides so many challenges for a defense trying to stop him. I wonder if Cardinals gave in any rings to Coach Sembach over there at Newton Falls and was like, "What have you done defensively?" I guarantee you, film's been watched on Newton Falls. You have to. The only team to hold them under 60 points twice. Yep. I mean, there's something that Coach Sembach's doing that's helping. You want to buy followers, primes, and viewers on viewer show?
Maybe a little bit. Yeah.
You're getting bombarded with Twitch comments on.
Twitch.
We don't want to buy followers.
I did like the love that Blaze X-Line got in the comments during it.
Yeah, getting some love too. I love the red and black hearts from Helen McClish Potts. That's great. I love it. Little variety in there. Throw the Quaker colors at them. That's a big interview we were excited to get. We were also excited to get Coach Watson. We got Abby Davidson coming up at 12:45, and then a little bit of a lag in between. But at 1:40, we have Carrie Palermo of Mooney Boys basketball coming on as well.
Last final from last night, by the way, Springfield got the win over Garfield 53-28. Never really in question. Springfield, it was just their defense was the one that won this game. I mean, Garfield couldn't find ways to score. As a team, they shot under 30% from the field. Anthony Demma had 12 to lead them, but they couldn't find ways to efficiently score, whether it was just purely a bad shooting night or if it was really good defense from Springfield or a mixture of both. The Tigers didn't need to score much.
Let me get my Wile E. Coyote sign into the yikes, and I can just yikes. Springfield looks like they're
going to get those. That's a good idea. We're going to make those for our spring session of Running Point. We're going to bring up the Wile E. Coyote sign.
We might be in a collision course for Springfield versus Camel, though.
That would be in the regionals, right?
That would be.
I'm interested to see how
matchup that would be too.
Now I'm interested to see because I forget how the regionals line up in boys basketball.
Springfield was 1 and Camels 2, I believe.
Let's see. In Division 3, the Salem district will play the Warren district,
which
in
might
regionals. So that would be the regional semifinal would be the winner of Jefferson Area Campbell versus the winner of Springfield. And I'm sorry, I jumped the gun. Campbell's not there yet, but we're rooting for him at YSN, so it's okay to jump the gun there. Springfield, and then the winner of the winner of Liberty Mooney tonight gets Springfield on Saturday. So we'll see.
Mooney not shy to this stage either. They were here last year as well. So they've done it, and Liberty's looked really good this year. And my oh my, we could see round 3 Liberty and Camel too. That could be that could happen as well.
With all the marbles on the line because it's 1-1, so it's a rubber match too.
We could also see a very unique Mooney Camel matchup as well.
It's not 1-1. I'm sorry, but it's one really competitive game and then one game that Camel kind of put their foot down.
Yeah, and I mean the fact that we could see a Mooney Camel game as well as exciting. The fact that we could see Mooney Springfield, I think, is exciting because we see Springfield played Ursuline this year, but I believe that was the only one in the Steel Valley Conference too. And Mooney has been a team that's shown that they could beat anybody in the Steel Valley Conference.
Yeah, and both these teams, Mooney and Liberty, we'll talk about a little bit more with Carrie Palermo later in the show, but they both got pushed by lower seeds. Liberty was down at halftime, or down for most of the first half, I should say, against South Range. And Mooney had to kind of walk a tightrope against Crestview.
Yeah, and I mean, Liberty fans have a lot to be paying attention to tonight, it seems like, as they got not only that, they got both teams playing. Well, no.
Their girls play tomorrow. They're all good.
Their girls play tomorrow. That's right. I'm talking to so many Liberty basketball.
There's a lot. There's a lot going on.
It's getting in my mind right now. I thought they were both playing tonight. I was like, wow, I can't believe they did that because now the fans have to split. They can't just all go. I was like, that's kind of unfortunate. But no, you're right. The Liberty girls do play tomorrow. We had Coach Watson on, though, and I don't know why I was thinking we were talking. But we do have 2 girls' games tonight.
We do. West Branch will play Norton on 6 o'clock at Barberton, and then Salem will take on
That's
Northwest.
What it was. You said Salem plays, but they were playing in the Salem district, and I think I got confused with that as well.
Yep. Salem district.
But that Liberty boys game versus Cardinal Mooney is going to be a fun one, too. That's going to be.
We talk about this a lot. Mooney's one of those teams.
Mooney's got the defense. Mooney knows the key to beating the really good teams in the area and slowing them down, it seems like, though.
Oh, yeah.
Like, defensively, they always seem to have the keys. And it's the teams that beat them are the teams that you don't think should, but it's the teams that just, I feel like, out-hustle them on defense some nights and just beat them in the box in some areas.
It's
Grabbing
crazy how the 2 games against Boardman went. They were like polar opposites.
the 2
I
games
feel
against Cheney. The one they won and the one they lost were polar opposites too. But it's like they've proven that they can beat those really good teams. And
So
that's
I guess for Liberty, the scary thing is which Mooney's gonna pop into the gym tonight.
yeah. If you get that world beater Mooney team that can beat the likes of your Cheneys and your Boardmans, and it's like that's a scary Mooney team.
This is something else too. Remember, this is a Liberty boys team that hasn't been in the districts for a long, long time. So a new stage to this boys team, kind of like their girls are in a new stage for regionals. Their girls had been in districts a couple times in the last several years, never won a district. So they're in a new stage in regionals. Their boys are in a new stage for districts.
And Coach Lamb's doing a great job over there with the Liberty boys as well. I love both these coaches going into this match.
One of my favorite moments of Friday night. There was a call that he didn't agree with, and he tripped a little bit, but then he paced down the sideline, sat at the very end of the bench, and kind of sat by himself and found a center of zen and calm before he stood back up to coach his team. But I loved the self-control. He wanted to say something so bad, so he just walked down to the end of the bench and sat down. Probably said it at the end of the bench where no one could hear him.
Yeah, and I mean, right now too, this is going to be setting up so many different teams. I mean, look at the MVAC Gray side and both the boys and the girls now, though.
Yep.
Because you have now on the MVAC Gray side, you had Garfield that made it all the way this far before tapping out, but Liberty's right here, about to be in a district final if they can get over Mooney, but they're right there on the doorstep of it. You look down too at, of course, what Camel's doing. They're on the doorstep as well if they can beat Middlefield Cardinal at being in a district semi. And LeBray was right there on the doorstep as well too, and it took overtime from Jefferson to beat him. So you saw, what is that, 4 teams inside the MVAC that all were inside of district semifinals. So
Talk about being on the doorstep, Ty. We have a Salem girls team that is right on the doorstep of regionals and right on the doorstep of getting into a regional final and hopefully for them punching a ticket to state. I mean, 2 wins away. Abby Davidson joining us on Running Point. Abby, thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Thank you for having me.
You got it.
Just first and foremost, Abby, let's just talk about the season and the ride you've been on too. How special of a ride has it been? Just talk to me a little bit about some of your favorite memories along the way. I know you guys still have games ahead of you, but just a moment of reflection from this season so far.
Well, we came out last year with 4.4 seconds left in districts, and we just knew it was revenge time this year, and we just still have a lot of talent to work with on the team. I mean, we graduated a good amount of seniors, and I think I was the only returning starter from last year, so we just knew we had to put the work in, and it's just great. The chemistry we have on the team with the seniors and what they bring to the team is just awesome.
You talked about it. I mean, the way last year ended made this team so hungry, and I'm sure going into districts, you were thinking, okay, Perry's right there. Let's get Perry back. But then Perry didn't win their district semifinal game, and I was talking to some of your teammates. And it was kind of like a rejuvenation when you kind of got to shake off this whole idea of revenge against Perry. You got to focus on a new team in West Geauga. Did you feel that personally too, that it was the revenge scheme against Perry was gone and it was kind of a rejuvenated mindset when you guys got to focus on West Geauga?
Well, actually, we even Coach Hamilton, we had a scouting report and everything planned out on Perry. I mean, we had them winning it. And we were just ready just to go against them. But, I mean, it was just the same, tension and just, hungriness to beat West Geauga as well and just go get it since it's been, 18 years. And we just knew, it was go time regardless of who the opponent was on the floor.
Talking about this year, too, and getting the fan support, how important do you think having that crowd has been there for you guys this season? I mean, we've seen the games. West Branch and Salem is always packed, too. But just what has it meant getting that crowd support and fan support back for the Lady Quakers this season?
I mean, we've never really realized how much like we play an effect on like the community and how we bring them together, and like we just never really realized the love we actually have from them. And after just winning and going this far and like just kind of proving who we are and having them stand behind us, it's just like it's like a blessing. It just feels so good, and just to know that you're loved and have your community and family and loved ones behind you, it just feels great.
We were talking about this before you came on about the crowds and trying to block out crowd noise, but also feed off your own crowd. And you've played against a lot of hostile environments. I know West Branch is definitely a big crowd, and they bring their own student section as well. How do you, as a player personally, kind of block out the negative crowd noise, but also feed off the positive crowd noise and try to feed off your own fans' energy?
It's just a mindset of the game, I would say personally. When I'm out on the floor, I mean, it's me, my teammates, and the opponents. Like, I don't really worry about the crowd. I mean, that's for after the game. It's kind of like whatever happens, and I just know what I need to do, and my teammates know what we need to do just to get the job done. So, and we're used to those environments. I mean, like, we have one of the biggest rivalries around, so like it's nothing like new to us. So we just know what we're doing, and I don't know. It's not really that hard because it's just, as like a player of the game, it's just expected to be put in that position.
You talk about that too, and I mean, with rivalry games, not letting the crowd get in your head, that's obviously a big thing, and we know how big the mental aspect of the basketball is going into the playoffs too. I mean, you got to kind of be mentally sharp going into each and every game too. So how do you kind of keep that level head too and not let the moment get too big for you at any given time?
So just kind of on like simple as like the bus rides there, or like just even like today, like I mean, I had the ACT at school, but throughout the day at school, like breaking down film and just going through each play thinking, okay, how could I react to this situation if this were to happen? Or, just like planning the game out in my head before I get put in the position. And if I'm put in a position that like I'm not really expected to be put in, it's just like I know I have my teammates there, and like it's always like coach is there, like we can always react in a positive way to it.
We got to ask you about this day because, like you said, you were taking the ACTs. That's a big kind of moment in your student life, and it's obviously a big test you have to put a lot of focus and studying into. So, what's it like being done with the ACT and now knowing the rest of the day it's all about this regional game tonight, and your whole mental focus can be right on basketball and right on what you have to do tonight to get a win?
Honestly, I actually wasn't too upset I had the ACT today, knowing like, I mean, the test is brutal and it's one of the worst things ever, but like knowing I have the rest of the day, just catch up on myself. I'm going through a little bit of knee problems again right now. So just to be able to rest that today and just elevate it and just have time to myself until we're going to go shoot around a little bit before the game. So around 4, knowing I have that time to myself and to prepare and just get my mindset right, it's good.
There's been some injuries on this team down the stretch of the season too, and sometimes that could be something that hinders a team or even takes them out completely. What have you kind of said to yourself through your own injury problems and through the other people on the team's injury problems too, to kind of just keep yourself motivated and keeping yourself coming to play 100% each game?
Well, with injuries, it's more of a mental part of the mindset. It's not really physical. I mean, I'm young, my body can put up with a lot, but it's just the mindset. It really takes away a lot of like your urgency to just give it your all, just because it's like this is like dreadful. But through like my injury, I just had like a lot of support from my coaches and my family and my loved ones, and it's just like direct mindset. Like I was like, all right, day by day, like it's gonna get better. And the last game against West Geauga, I hurt my knee again first quarter, so it's been a rough couple last days, but it's just getting back to normal, and today it feels the best it's felt, so I'm ready to go.
With the knee injury, a lot of athletes that go through it say the hardest part about getting back is trusting it again,
Yeah.
trusting your own ability and trusting that you can make those cuts that you have to make, et cetera, et cetera. How hard was that for you to kind of get back to trusting your own body and trusting your own abilities and trusting that knee is going to hold up?
Well, actually, it was very tough. So that's actually one of my biggest fears, was going through a knee injury, and basketball is one of like the toughest sports on your knees because of jabs and cuts and stuff like that. So honestly, I went through therapy for around like 3 months, and I was coming back a little late to basketball. And then literally like this past month, I've just been begging coach. I'm like, coach, my knee feels great. Like I'm ready to go 100%. Like, without this brace, I just want to go. Like, I just want to play to the ability I can. And she just kept telling me, you know, Abby, like, even with this brace on, like, you're still unstoppable. Like, nobody can guard you. And I think it was just like a sign from the man above, like just tweaking it the first quarter of West Geauga. Like, it was just like, no, like, you got to keep it on. Like, you just got to keep going. But for me, like, I just knew, like, I might as well put up with this instead of it going to like a worse, like tearing my ACL or something like that. So I just got to keep pushing and just get through it.
Me and Anthony were actually talking about this a little bit before you came on, Abby. So I'll kind of extend the question to you and bring you into this conversation, because it also happened again now with Cornell Fulton Northwest beating Akron St. Vincent St. Mary, and not the expected winner, what everyone thought, but it happened again where Perry didn't win. It was West Geauga. So what is it like being a player in that, to where you guys are kind of getting those scouting reports together for a team that you expect to win, and then everything kind of just shifts and it's someone else? How do you kind of shift that mindset and that focus so quickly before the next game?
Right. So every step of the way in the tournament, we have, like, the team and coach has been wrong about each team that's going to win. And honestly, it's just like we focus more on the team that we thought was going to win, but like we're still going to play the same way and play our game. Either any team we play, like we're not going to like shift our way of playing or who we are. We're just going to go out and play our game. So with Perry losing and we have us having to play West Geauga, it was just like, you know, what do we have to change? Like players, I mean, defensively, like we knew there's different players every night you got to shut down. But like our offense and defensive game like doesn't change. Like if we go out and play the best of our ability every night, like we know we got it.
Getting some love from the comment section down here as I'll pop it up and getting some fan appreciation. This is it. You know, there's no more preparation left to do, no more practices, one shoot around, and then it's a trip to Barberton. Talk about what it's going to be like, this atmosphere, what you're expecting from it, and how excited you are to kind of get into that gym and to kind of take it all in, because you have to take in this experience as best as you can.
Right. Everybody doesn't get to be in these shoes that we're going to be in tonight. I mean, it's definitely a blessing and it's not given to everybody, and we've had to work for this. So we just know tonight, like we're gonna go shoot around before we head to Barberton. We're gonna watch a little bit of the West Branch game, get focused, and just tune in on our game. And with the atmosphere, it's definitely gonna be different. I mean, coming from a little town, like it's not gonna be anything like we are used to, but I mean, we've always played in like atmospheres like West Branch and stuff. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting, but I think we can handle it.
You've talked already about how much he's helped you a little bit through the injuries and through other stuff. Talk a little bit more about Coach Hamilton and what it's been like to be under her and what she's helped you grow in, not just as a basketball player, but as a person too.
Right. So one of Coach's biggest strengths to her players is like, you're not only a player to her, like she treats you as like one of her own, like almost her child, like off the court. She wants to like know more about your life, more as like how you're doing off the court as like a human, and make sure we're always just being like the best versions of ourselves. And that's just something that she like enforces, and she's very good at that.
Who are some of your biggest role models inside and outside the sport of basketball that you'd like to shout out?
Well, I mean, definitely I come from a big family, so definitely like my brother Mitchell, he was a good athlete in high school and he now plays at YSU for football. Just like with the mindset of game and the work ethic, he always is like very like mindful towards me. Like he always is making sure like I'm doing the best and just including my teammates and stuff like that. And then my dad, he's just a very like good guy, and he's just laid back, and he just always wants you to be classy. I mean, he always enforces for you to be the bigger person on the court and off the court. So definitely those two.
Big family. That's an understatement. There are more Davidsons on this roster than we know how to deal with. When you look at the last thing we want to talk to you about is just your support system. We always want to give the players the shout out their support system, people that are always there for them and the people that they couldn't get through this journey without. So without further ado, I want to give you that time.
Definitely my family. I mean, even when I was going through with my knee and everything, like they were always like, you know, your time's going to come. And they were just standing behind me and pushing me, making sure I was doing what I needed to do to like heal. Definitely Coach Hamilton, like not even basketball related stuff. I know I can go to her and she'll give me the best advice and make sure I'm always just being the best version of myself. I mean, I'm not really a senior, but she forces me to like be a leader at any age. She also always says how like it doesn't matter your age or where you are at in life, there's always time to step up and be a leader. So definitely Coach Hamilton and my family. I mean, they've always pushed me to be the best.
Abby, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We appreciate it. Wish you the best of luck tonight, and we look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Abby Davidson, one of the leaders, like she said, not a senior, but still a leader of the Salem girls basketball team, preparing for a regional semifinal tonight in Barberton against Canal Fulton Northwest. That game is going to be tipping off approximately 8 o'clock. It's just depending on how fast or slow the West Branch game goes. West Branch will tip off at 6 against Norton, and then the Salem game will be about 20 to 30 minutes following that game.
Great interview too by Abby Davidson as well. I might note as well. She did a great job too. A lot of the Salem girls basketball team does a great job. I think they're kind of well trained now because of a certain owner for the company that's around them a decent amount.
I feel like they saw Jenna McClish come on. They all knew that they had to raise their game up to that level because when Jenna came on, it was a party on Running Point.
Yeah, they do a great job too. And you know what? Commend these high school athletes too, because as the culture has changed too with high school sports, as YSN's been introduced and we were able to give these spotlights to, these kids have done a great job with it too.
Right.
Never really having the spotlight shined on them as much. Now they're taking it, and we're seeing there's a lot of great intellectual, well-spoken kids in the community as well too. And I mean, I understand it's nerve-wracking, and to be a high schooler trying to get on this, it's nerve-wracking. I get it, I get it. So I mean, the ones that do a really good job, I commend them too, because I know it must be nerve-wracking.
I've been super impressed, especially like the sports that really they've never gotten interviewed by media. Like,
oh yeah,
when we did the divers,
interviews are diving. Yeah,
were like great interviews. Like I've been pleasantly surprised. Wrestlers, the teams in the sports that don't get a lot of media attention, and how well spoken that those kids are anyway. Tremendous.
Brian Tolnar from
Brian Tolnar.
I mean, just you talk about Brian Tolnar, just like a guy that we love having. You need to check out his appearance on the Power Hour too, if you haven't already. That was great too. Great job by DJ doing that as well. That'll be on YouTube as well as our archives on Facebook. But no, you're right. As far as like the kids, there's so many. The pole and divers are ones that absolutely impress me. Every single one of them too. Every single one of them. Great interviews as well. And I think these kids are doing a great job too. And hey, they're going big time too. You play at the next level, you're only going to get media attention too. So we kind of help and aid with the practice of that as well.
Yeah, these SIDs are going to go up to these students and be like, "We have to teach you how to be in front of a media." Like, we got it. We've
done this before.
We've done this before. We've been interviewed up the wazoo by YSN, so we got this. SIDs are going to be like, "Thank you."
No, they do a great job, our student athletes too, and there's a lot of great interviews out there, and we're excited to put some more basketball faces on Running Point as season's not over yet, and when we have that final tally of number of coaches and students that we've brought on to and programs we've represented, it's probably a pretty high number, I would imagine.
Ty, we're going to take a break here in a minute, but before we do, last thought on this kind of track. Tournament time, the funnest part about it from my standpoint is we get to shine a light even brighter on some of these teams because they're the only ones left playing. So we get to pour a lot of energy into covering that team and pour a light on that team and get more players on, get the coach on a lot more often. Liberty, we've had Deidre Watson on twice in the last three shows, twice in 3 shows. Aaron Gilbert was on for the second time in a row yesterday, Friday, Monday. So to shine a light even more on these programs and to get them even more attention because they are far and they are one of the last teams standing. Really fun.
Yeah, I absolutely love it too. And I mean, that's why we give all programs the airtime that we can during the regular season too. And that's also why you don't see these programs get highlighted as much. I mean, the really good programs, we still highlight them too during the season. We still get their post games and everything, but that's why we leave that time to try to bring in those other coaches too, because these teams that are here, you get to see them a lot during the post season. And we're happy to bring them on too. And I'm glad that they give us their time too during this stretch.
Ty, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have more Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, shop with confidence knowing we're ready to go the extra mile for you. With the largest selection of used vehicles in the Valley, backed by the Greenwood Advantage Warranty. Every one of our vehicles has undergone our own 126-point inspection, so it passes the most important inspection, yours. No other dealership has the extra inventory, gives you extra for your trade, and goes the extra mile for you. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
For a great vehicle and a great experience, come to Boardman Mitsubishi today. As always, our full lineup of Mitsubishi models comes with a standard 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Boardman Mitsubishi, your hometown Mitsubishi dealer since 1999.
Coca's Pizza, always supporting our community and our local athletes. Stop in on game day or score big and have it delivered right to your door. Check out our daily specials at cocaspizza.com. That's Coca's Pizza, we serve it hot.
At Hubbard Chevrolet, Hubbard can help you get the financing you need regardless of your situation. I'm Tony Page, and I've helped thousands of customers in Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania buy a vehicle. Visit HubbardChevy.com to get pre-approved. Remember, folks, Hubbard can help.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education and make them your own. We are where you shape your future We are Youngstown State University and proud.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig alongside Ty Bartell. As we continue through this Tuesday edition of Running Point, Ty, let's go through some of the matchups that we'll see in the boys' districts tonight. We saw the first round of semifinals last night. Here come the second round. And I think the first one that we want to talk about, excuse me, I just got knocked off of.
Well, we already talked about Middlefield Cardinal and Camel.
We did. We talked about that at length. But there are two more that are going on, and we'll save Mooney and Liberty for Coach Palermo coming on at 1:40.
We'll preview that one a little bit before, or maybe even after Coach Palermo too.
But what about the St. Thomas Aquinas Badger game? This one's going to be really good. Both offenses can definitely put up big numbers. Aquinas scored 91 in their win over the Urban Scholars to get to this point. And then we saw Badger struggle for most of the game offensively against Lisbon, but then outscored the Blue Devils 17-6 in the fourth quarter to get a 4-point victory over Lisbon and get to this point. I think this is a very interesting matchup.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a higher seeded Aquinas team. And if I'm not mistaken, I want to check one thing about St. Thomas Aquinas, because if I'm not mistaken, I thought they have some height. So we might be seeing some towers on the court tonight with both of these teams playing. But let me just double check and see if they have the height posted for their roster. They are a 12-10 team, but they were the 4 seed, and that just shows the respect of the schedule that they play, too. I'll run through some of their schedule real quick. They play on that Portage Trail, but they scheduled teams.
They play more in JFK twice.
Yeah, they scheduled Maslin Perry. They scheduled Heartland. They scheduled Valley. Yeah, they played JFK twice. They scheduled Ursuline. They scheduled Maslin Washington. Ursuline again. So Ursuline was on there twice. And of course, yeah, they played teams like Academy from Urban Scholars down the stretch. Oh, they also played Alliance and beat Alliance 59-51 this season. So that's a pretty big win for St. Thomas Aquinas. As let me see if they have the heights real quick on them. They might not. Well, that's not right. It says Paul Walsh is 8 foot tall. No, that's not right. Well, Matt,
about padding the numbers.
I don't know who put that one on there. I don't think Paul Walsh. Probably a great player. He might be a great player, but I don't think he's 8 foot tall. He is getting scouted immediately if he can play a lick of basketball at 8 foot tall. Like NBA is like calling him right now. 8 foot tall. It's just like, well, that's not right. That can't be right. This would have made headlines somewhere.
That's a free ticket to go to whoever wins the national championship this year in college basketball.
Yeah, like
you're there.
But I think they do have some height from what I remember seeing them this year. Not 8 foot tall, but they do have some height. Badger, of course, has multiple guys 6'4" and over. So I mean, like the height that Badger is going to be able to bring is going to help too. But from what I remember about Aquinas, they're going to have some. So I think that rebounding battle is going to be huge too, especially with the bigs that both teams are going to have too. And I think just the physicality of the bigs is going to be huge too. Who's going to out hustle each other? Who's going to out physical each other in the low post game, especially when you're playing with this much height on both sides?
I wonder who's going to have more height and who's going to be able to impose their will inside.
That's a fair point too. And I mean, Badger might be able to make this special run. And I mean, this would be an upset for them. I would think so too, because even with 12-10 record, to get ranked number 4 in the regular season is there's respect to what Aquinas does, because they schedule a lot of D2, D3, D1 teams on their schedule, being a D4 school, and they're like JFK in a lot of regards too. So I mean, they've walked the walk against some really good teams, but for Badger, they've really kind of been this Cinderella story in the second half of the season. They got healthy. They get their superstars back at 100%, and they're just like, hey, with the remaining season games that we have and the postseason run we have, let's make the most of it too. And they're going on some sort of run. And I tell you, I don't think they want to be done yet.
And let's be real, they've already gotten the upset win over Lewisman because seeding-wise, Lewisman was the higher seed. They had to go to Lewisman and get the win. It's a big road trip from Badger to Lewisman. Google Maps it if you don't believe me because it's a trek. And they went down. They took care of business. I mean, yeah, they struggled for 3 quarters, but scores 17 points in one frame and finished the game like that. Big noise for the Braves. They definitely have the offense that can do it. They have the defense that can do it too.
Who was the coach that had the what win and survive quote, or like survive to the next round? Because that's
Jim Valvano.
Yeah, this is exactly
Survive
what
in
it is
advance.
right now. Score is secondary. You're just surviving to the next round. You just need to be on top of it. Whether it's 1, 10, 20, doesn't matter as long as you're the winning team at the end of it. Badger found that out. You could play some bad quarters of basketball, but as long as the final score indicates that you're on top, you're just surviving to the next round, and that's exactly what happened.
It's a neutral site game in Struthers, but both teams, it's kind of a pretty good trip for both. St. Thomas Aquinas is coming from Louisville, so that's like a 40-minute trip from Louisville to Struthers. And I want to look up what the Badger to Struthers.
From what Kinsman?
Let's see.
Kinsman, Ohio to Struthers.
So according to Google Maps, that is a 42-minute drive. It's straight, like this straight north. Straight south, down from Badger to Struthers. And then, same thing probably for Louisville, around 42 minutes, 50 minutes from Louisville, St. Thomas Aquinas to Struthers.
Yeah, and I want to look real quick too at Badger's schedule too, because I want to give them their due diligence like we did with Camel real quickly, because they're 12-12 on the season, but you got to remember too, those injuries that they had towards the middle and end of the season didn't help. But let's see, they played Pie Valley, they played Camel this season. I forgot they played Camel. Well, I just mentioned Cam played Badger, but yeah, Camel and Badger. They played Heartland Christian. They played Fairport, Harbor, Harding. They played Bristol. The Bristol boys, always good. They played Matthews, Wyndham, Bristol again. I think they're in the same conference as Bristol, actually. Jackson, Milton, obviously. They played in the tournament. Lisbon. What is it? Chalker is another one, too. Maplewood. So, yeah, their schedule, they've played some tough out-of-conference teams, too. Memorial is obviously a big one, the Circle. Heartland Christian, another one, and they got a win over. So, they've faced some tough competition, too. And the losses that they have in the middle of the season, you can tell when those injuries really happen, because I think the scores start reflecting it a little bit.
I can say this officially now. According to my phone, it's going to be a longer trip from St. Thomas Aquinas to Struthers than it is for Badger. It's about an hour away for St. Thomas Aquinas, only 40 minutes from Badger. So both a sizable bus ride, but St. Thomas Aquinas is going to have to travel just a little bit more to get to Struthers. And for those of you asking, well, let's get a closer. Well, they're not exactly close to each other either. So this is not a Louisville, Canton South situation where both teams are close to each other and both teams were asked to travel a long way and then got moved because of it. These are opposite sides.
Yeah, this is about as middle ground you can get, right. Honestly. It really is. There's a few schools that might be a little bit more center where you can go maybe 50 minutes, but I think this is about as close as you can get for a neutral site ground for.
I think remember yesterday we brought up the fact that Louisville and Canton South got moved, but Howland and Ursuline didn't. I think Ashtabula Lakeside is like, hey, we're promised a district. You're giving one of us there. You're giving us one of them. So you make the decision who you're going to make travel. I don't think they would have taken both those games away from Ashtabula Lakeside.
Yeah, and I don't think they would have either. But hey, they got to pick up. Gleno got.
And then it's going to make Ursuline and Howland kind of salty because they're in the same situation, kind of that Louisville and Canton South were, and they still have to go up to Ashtabula.
Yeah, and I mean, it would have been a little bit more convenient if they played at the field house or something like that. But
Maybe if Ursuline and Howland were like 5 minutes apart, because it's still like maybe a 15-20 minute drive from Ursuline down to Youngstown down to Howland and Warren.
yeah, I would say probably about a good 20 minutes. But I mean, hey, sometimes you just got to take it with what it's worth, and sometimes they get scheduled like that. We saw a lot of that happen in the football season too, where sometimes teams had something to gripe about, but sometimes it worked out as like a home field advantage.
Yeah,
And it was only 10
every
minutes.
every time we brought that up, what would the coaches say? We'll play anywhere. So
Yeah, I mean,
you put us in a parking lot, we'll play.
You you're playing basketball. You just need
Can you
a
imagine that? Like, hey, we're gonna play in this park, outdoor basketball on the pavement. It's the last place
in
we're
the
gonna play.
snow, a sheet of ice on the court. They have ice skates on. It's like a hybrid of hockey and basketball.
Ooh, that's a good idea. Basketball and ice skates.
Bouncing a basketball on slick ice is a nightmare. I feel like
Well, you just take out dribbling, because I mean, running on ice skates already is hard enough. So I think you can take out dribbling for this. But I feel like if figure skaters can jump, twirl 5 times, and land on an ice skate, then you should be able just to run on ice on blades and go and shoot a basketball.
Imagine if someone had like Allen Iverson's dribble moves on ice skates, though, and they're dribbling on ice.
You can literally say he put them on skates.
He put them on ice. Oh my God, Allen Iverson would hurt.
Faked out on ice skates. Like how bad that would look if you juke someone out and they're already on skates.
You're just hitting hard ice.
You need to.
What a skill you would have. You would have to have
hospital
supreme balance.
They make Air Jordan ice skates.
Oh my God. To be able to get like the lift off that MJ had off of a skate on ice.
I mean, those jumps that the figure skaters make. I mean, I know they're not
unbelievable.
So
you need some vertical though, and you're jumping off of ice on a
yeah. It's not a vertical because they have to get going and then they can jump. But they get high enough to do like 3 spins before they hit the ground. So feasible that a basketball player that's already good at jumping could probably get up in the air on an ice skate. I want to see that now. I want to see how high like LeBron James could get on an ice skate jump.
Oh my goodness! Can LeBron?
The wheels in my head are turning, man.
I don't know if LeBron can ice skate or not, though. That's a big man.
You better be able to be such an athlete. You know, if you can't ice skate, I'm going to judge you now.
I mean, there's people that are successful.
That'll be the decision. Like, if MJ can ice skate and LeBron can't, give it up. He's the GOAT. It's over. Argument done.
Shaq on skates.
Oh, geez, no. Remember that show Shaq Versus, where he'd take on like other people in their sport, like he did like versus Ben Roethlisberger in on the football field.
Shaq does everything.
And trying to outswim Michael Phelps. It's hilarious.
Just to fail miserably.
Let's get back on track, please, for the love of God. So back to the St. Thomas Aquinas Badger game, Ty. I do have my bracket in front of me. Let's see who we picked. Let's see. This is the D3.
D4, I think. Right?
Actually, this is D4, excuse me. Flip that. D4, we're going to the Struthers District.
I was actually good all the way to this point with Badger and Aquinas. I had Badger and Aquinas all the way to this matchup on this side of the bracket. On the top side,
yeah, I was actually perfect on this. I had Lowville, Heartland, Badger.
Yeah, I had Lowville and Heartland too on this side.
So, but I rocked the banner and picked Badger to win this game. I don't know if you did.
Let me.
Some of these brackets I picked with my heart a little bit. Rocked the banner.
Yeah, I had Badger on this side, but I had Heartland on the other side. So I had that one wrong.
Lowville?
I had Heartland and I had Heartland and Badger
Right. So I
And
have Louisville bad. So
yeah.
I
So
thought the shot to be perfect.
you
Woo!
do have a shot to be perfect. I had Heartland and Badger, so I did have that wrong. I picked Heartland over Louisville, but I had Louisville up until that point.
The winner of this district will go on to play the winner of the Orwell district. And right now, their district final has one team, and it is, John F. Kennedy. They'll be in that one. And then, of course, they will play the winner of Matthews against Bristol. And I don't know why it's Orville when it's I guess Orville Grand Valley. I was thinking when I read Orwell, sorry, I read that as Orville, like the school Orville. I was like, why are they going all the way to Orville to play a district? Orwell.
Grand Valley.
Is Orwell Grand Valley. Okay. Why can't they just call it the Grand Valley district and
it's like they called Howland the Warren district.
Warren district. I'm thinking Warren Harding because
I'm thinking Harding. I mean, that could mean there's a lot of schools in Warren. Like that could mean a lot of schools.
Because I thought there were districts in Warren Harding. I thought Warren Harding was a host.
I thought Harding had a district too. Harding's big enough to support it. Their gym's big enough to support it.
They used to. I know.
Not that Howland is it. I mean, I'm not griping about Howland, but just call it the Howland district. Don't call it the Warren.
Big old Fat Paw hosting tournament games.
Huh?
Big old Fat Paw hosting tournament games.
I get to go to Howland for the first time tonight. I'm excited.
I thought you went there before because you told me about the Fat Paw.
You told me about Fat Paw.
I know, but you gave me your opinion on it.
I've seen it. Like I've seen it in games and I've seen it in pictures.
All right, you're gonna see it in person and you're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, Fat Paw. It's my first time going to Howland, and I'll complete the trip to all AAC schools. Then I've been to all of them then after tonight. So
you've been to, wait, have you? Because you haven't broadcasted at Harding because it's not a YSN school.
I've broadcasted football at Harding.
Okay, but we're talking about gyms. It's basketball. Have you been in Warren Harding's gym?
I've been in Warren Harding's gym. Yeah.
Okay, but yeah,
I haven't broadcasted it, but I've been to Warren Harding's gym.
Okay. I'm trying to sneak football into basketball conversations.
I was still went to Mollenkoff. I've been to Warren Harding.
Everyone's been to Mollenkoff. It's like one of the premier destinations of high school football in our area.
Yeah, I know, but I still went to Mollenkoff for a Harding game.
The other region, or the other side of the region, I should say, just to give you perspective on Division 4, Richmond Heights, they're unreal, 70-34. They get the win in the district semifinal. They'll play the winner of Dalton and Cornerstone Christian. That game being played tonight, and that'll be the district final. And then the other district, which is the Willard district, they have, well, actually, their bracket's not set yet for their district final. So I don't know if their first semifinals tonight between Lucas and Greenwich South Central. And then the next district, both district finals are tonight. So I don't know why this particular district decided to merge them into one night like the girls do, but that's what they're doing. Monroeville will be playing Margaretta. I almost said Margarita. Like, ooh.
Margaritaville.
Margaretta, the 1 seed. Both semifinals going on tonight. So tomorrow we'll know what that district kind of looks like.
Yeah, and I mean we'll have a lot more answers too as far as districts, regionals are concerned, and I mean we could also be looking at a very, very possible Salem versus West Branch regional final after tonight.
Okay,
And
let's since we have about 10 minutes before Carrie Palermo comes on, let's preview these two girls games tonight too and do our due diligence and get into these regional semifinals in Barberton. Me and DJ will both be on the call. So I'm excited to get back with DJ for a game it has been a while. I think we called the South Range game this year once, but good to get back. Salem will play the late game. West Branch will play the first game. They are going to play Norton. And Coach DeShields was talking yesterday. A Norton team that knows this stage pretty well, and so does West Branch, but shockingly enough, they haven't played each other in the regionals yet.
Yeah, and I mean Norton and West Branch. This is a once in a lifetime now. This has happened, and this is going to be very fun to see that these two teams square off, because these two teams are perennials. And as far as being there at this stage of the tournament, regionals, districts, I mean, these two teams have always seemed to be here at some point or fashion, but they never seem to face off against each other. And we had Coach DeShields on, and he talked about that a little bit. It's going to be an interesting matchup too, and West Branch has a little bit of a task in front of them too, but I don't discredit what the Lady Warriors can do. They're kind of used to this spot. Some of the girls are too. Coach the Shields definitely is. The program is too. They're way more experienced, and so is Norton. So I mean, there's really nothing to hide. It's just going to be interesting seeing these two teams collide for the first time.
I think they've played plenty of teams, West Branch has, to prepare them for what Norton plays. Norton is high pressure defense. They're going to man you up. They're going to press. They're going to trap. They're going to try to force you into a lot of turnovers. Very similar to what Poland does on defense. And West Branch got through that game without too many turnovers as well. I think the big key, you're not going to get through the game without a turnover. So get that out of your head. Like, you're not going to go the whole game without a turnover. I think it's being able to execute situational basketball and saying, when do we turn the ball over and when can we not turn the ball over at all? Like, when there are going to be possessions where you cannot afford a turnover, and those can't happen. And then limiting live ball turnovers. Travels are okay. Throwing the ball out of bounds, okay. But the live ball steal that gives a fast break layup, not okay against this defense. Offensive wise, I don't think Norton's anything like that West Branch hasn't seen. They got some skill players. They have a 1,000-point scorer as a point guard, but they don't have like a superstar. They don't do a lot of things like great. They just do they don't do one thing. They're one of those teams, don't do one thing great, but they do a lot of things good, if that makes sense. Like, they're efficient on offense. They do their job. They stay out of the bad situations, but they don't have that, oh my gosh, superstar that's going to light you up if you leave her alone. They don't have like a 1,500-point scorer or the bona fide superstar. They do have 1,000-point scorer as a point guard, but I think overall, their offense does the job, but doesn't have anything flashy. It's not like a Chelsea Evans where they have a girl that can just take over a game, period.
And it's crazy for these girls now. I mean, there's 1 to 4 games left in front of you to play too. I mean, every girl, every team's hoping that they have 4 games ahead of them too, and they get to that 4th game, because only 2 teams in each division are getting to that 4th game, that 4th and final game in the final 4-game stretch for these girls.
I gotta say, in both district games for West Branch, Coach DeShields has flexed his coaching muscles a little bit with his adjustments mid-game. He made some really good adjustments in the Poland game to get them out of some trouble spots against Poland's defense in the second half. And then against Marlington, they came out, they shot threes really well, the Dukes did. And in the second half, the West Branch kind of shut them down on the perimeter without giving up much against Chelsea Evans. So the adjustments that Walter Shields made in both district games, obviously he's a great coach. We all know that. He's a legend. But he was flexing a little bit with his coaching muscles in those districts because he had to make back-to-back really good halftime adjustments. He's going to probably have to make some halftime adjustments tonight too, because you come out expecting one thing. This is a Norton team that you don't see, and they might be doing something that they don't do on film, or they might throw out something that you haven't seen yet, and you're going to have to make adjustments. And Walt the Shields in the tournament, he's dangerous because he's been here before. He knows what it takes to win these games. He knows how to coach these games. Don't forget, this is a girls' team that is 2 years removed from being on the floor in Ohio State, ready for a state semifinal, and then being called off because of the COVID shutdown back in March of 2020. So, is it a different team than then? Yes, absolutely. They have a lot of different players. I don't think anyone from the starting lineup, except maybe Anna Lippiett, is on that team from 2 years ago. Like, you know what I mean? Starting lineup. Anyone from the starting lineup from that team is back in the starting lineup now. Obviously, the seniors were still on that team. They were still a part of the roster. But it took a year, but they're back in the doors are open for them to go right back to state.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think all of us here at YSN and anybody that's a basketball or a sports fan in this particular area is definitely hoping for a Salem and West Branch rematch and hoping that both these teams, everyone's fingers crossed right now, saying, "Give me Lady Quakers and West Branch 3," especially with Lady Quakers being up 2-0, adding that little bit of drama in the season. Like, oh man, now we got to try to sweep them 3-0 in a
If
season.
that happened, like you have to beat West Branch 3 times in the season.
And
which I would bank
like
there was the first
a regional final on it too. Like
it was the first time since
state semi.
2004 that they ever swept West Branch in a season. I would be hard pressed to say that they've never beaten West Branch 3 times in a season. Like I don't know, I know they don't play in tournaments a whole lot,
It'll
but I would
probably
be they'd be the first time. I'm just gonna
I'd
go
say
out
you're
on a limb
probably
and say it. It's gonna be the first time.
that would be with the weight of a regional final on it too, going all the way to state semis and getting to the final four. That's going to be what a game to have for that too. And I mean, I think our servers might crash. They might break with that game on them.
Our servers handle big dogs of the Valley Player of the Year. I think they can handle.
I saw those. I was like, oh my god, that was nuts.
It was a big vote total.
Huge.
By the way, we did announce earlier today on our socials that Face Tolado of Struthers won Baird Brothers Player of the Year.
Congratulations to her too, and the Lady Wildcats, and also
Tolado with the stiletto dagger. Bam!
Struthers community came out and big vote total too for that one. So I mean, for that many votes to go through for girls basketball and for Faith Stellato to come out on top of it, big congratulations to her over there for the Lady Wildcats.
All right, now let's touch on this Salem game that also being played 20 to 30 minutes after the end of the West Branch game tonight. West Branch tips off at 6. Salem will tip off after. They have Canal Fulton Northwest, a team that, man, did they have a perfect game plan and executed against St. Vincent St. Mary. They held the ball. They took the Irish's speed out of the game, and they just won a slow, dragged out defensive battle 28-26. And of course, this Salem team has been built on speed, and the Northwest team is going to have to do the same thing that they did against the Irish and slow the game way down, and try to beat this Salem team in a slow defensive game. Obviously, Salem's defense is amazing. I wouldn't want to get into a defensive battle with that team, but I think that's what Northwest is going to try to do.
I don't know if they can afford to though, because
Look,
I mean,
they saw what Salem did to West Geauga, and they're saying we're not letting this team run. We can't match up with them athletically.
But the problem is they're so athletic that they even give teams that run offensively trouble in the defensive scheme in that. So if you're letting these girls set their feet when they're already so quick and catching up to you in transition opportunities, it's a team that, as long as Salem's limiting turnovers, this is going to be a very difficult team to score on for Canal Fulton Northwest as well. You might see another sub 30 or a low 30 scoring game in this one.
If I'm a coach game planning against Salem, and I think Walt the Shields had a perfect game plan in their second matchup at Salem. Unfortunately for him, Salem just shot the lights out, way out of their scouting report. Hit 10 threes in that game. I would force him in the half court and say you're going to have to win this game in the half court offense, and that's what I would do. And I think that's what Northwest is going to try to do, because that's exactly what they did against St. Vincent St. Mary.
Yeah, and that's going to be interesting to see if that's going to pay dividends for Northwest, because this is going to be defensive battle all the way.
Like I said, I don't think Northwest wants to get into a running match with Salem. They don't want to try to go athlete to athlete. Remember Aaron Gilbert talked about that yesterday. He said with Warrensville Heights, we can't match up with them athlete to athlete. So we can't get into a running match with Warrensville Heights. I think Northwest is looking at the same thing for Salem. We can't match up with them athlete per athlete. So we can't start pushing tempo and trying to get into a running match with this team. It's just not going to work out. They saw what happened to West Geauga. West Geauga was gassed by the third quarter. I mean, it was over by the third quarter because Salem had outrun them, period. So I think you got to keep Salem in the half court as much as possible, and you try to try to stop out of that transition game. For Salem, it's the opposite. I mean, you do exactly what you tried to do against West Geauga. You try to run them out of the gym. You force turnovers like you have been all year, and you use your speed and your agility. Even the half court defense, their ability to rotate quick, probably the quickest defense we have in the Ysn family. It causes so many teams problems. So they're going to have to use their quickness, push tempo in this game, just like they did against the Wolverines.
Yeah, and you know what? Honestly, in this case too, it's going to be similar to West Branch. And if you're Northwest, don't let this team start hitting threes too.
Right.
And you're just hoping they're not on fire from the arc tonight. And even if they're hitting above, I should say, 30% from the 3-point arc, and they're taking, let's say, 10 shots, 11 shots, and they're hitting 4 or 5 threes. I mean, like, those are going to make a huge difference in a game that you're probably only going to see 30-some points in from each team, too. So if Salem's connecting from the arc, it makes things a lot harder for Northwest to adjust to.
One of my players to watch for Salem is going to be Kami Rome in this game. I think she's going to come up big. She's their net protector. She's their the DJ calls her SWATzilla. She's going to be big because Northwest is going to try to make this a half-court game. And to beat a team on half-court defense, you got to have someone that's going to protect the paint. And I think she's going to do a really good job of that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be interesting to see which one of these teams comes out and executes the game plan better. But hey, that's the name of the game, and we're going to see if both Salem and West Branch can answer us as fans' prayers and give us the third matchup between these two.
That game, by the way, if it were to happen, would be on Friday night in Barberton, Salem versus West Branch. We definitely hoping for that. We're hoping that Cardinal Mooney can pull off a win tonight as well. We're going to bring on their head coach of the boys basketball program down there, Kerry Palermo. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
You got it.
Coach, first and foremost, I mean, I know you guys aren't shy to this part of the tournament, but you guys, of course, scheduled a tough schedule again. You guys had your lumps. You rode the roller coaster of the regular season, but you're right back where you were about a year ago. You got a tough matchup here, but just talk to me a little bit about not only this season and what you've seen growth-wise from the team. Talk to me also on what you just saw against Crestview with the guys and what you thought the keys to that win were.
Well, Crestview, I know their record, wasn't very good. They were a low seed, but, they've lost a lot of games this year by 4 or 5 points or, the last couple minutes.
Pay your attention, please.
Got the announcements coming on right now at school. Sorry.
Monday Running Madness.
Hold on one second, guys.
So the Shamrock Raffle is going very well. We have total of 51% of all students participating. And those students who've already turned
All right, it's a little bit better. Crestview was a pretty formidable foe. They played extremely hard. They shot the ball really well. We did not shoot the ball well. They off of us in our half-court in offense. It was really a struggle for us most of the game. But at the end of the day, our seniors really stepped up and some players for us really stepped up toward the end of the basketball game. And we made enough plays to win the game. And that just from the whole year, we really only have one player back from last year that had the same role as he's had in previous years. The other 8 varsity players that we had are all assuming new roles. And all of them just throughout the course of the year have just grown collectively as a group, figuring out their roles, carving out their roles. We've had some younger guys, Rocco Turner and Ashton O'Brien, really step up and, really take a more of a scoring role for this year. We really didn't expect that as early as they did this year. And, we've all just kind of built into a pretty cohesive defensive team. And when we score enough points, we give ourselves a chance to win.
Now we're in the Ursuline gym.
Right, I teach here, yeah.
It's awesome. Coach, we got to talk about this because now it's pertinent. I mean, you're wearing the Mooney, you coach at Mooney, you teach at Ursuline. What's that kind of dynamic like? And obviously the big rivalry when you get to be a part of it. What's that kind of like for you to be a part of both schools?
It's nothing. I mean, it's really, I don't really, look too far into it. I win here. I played here. I coach at the rival school. That's about as far as it goes, to be honest with you. I'm 35 years old now. It's high school basketball. It's about the players. It's about the teams. I don't get too caught up in that.
Looking at this team though this season, and we talked about riding the roller coaster, but you guys are catching fire at the right time, winning games at the right time too. Talk to me a little bit about this matchup with Liberty, what you see that the Leopards do really well, and what you think you guys are going to be able to counteract, and what you guys need to do well in order to get this ball game as a victory.
So Liberty's a really well coached team. Coach Lamb has done a great job the last couple of years. They're very talented. They got 3 guards that are really good, led by James Davis and DeAndre Venters. Those guys are really good in the open floor. They're very good creating their own shot off the dribble. They're going to present a challenge that we really haven't seen much this year. They're very good in the open floor. I think they'd rather play like in the 60s and 70s, which might be a challenge for us. We just got to try to find a way to slow them down with our press and offensively, just take care of the ball, keep them off the glass. They do a really good job on the offensive glass. Just the little things. That's kind of what we hung our hat on the entire year. We have 15 wins with this group, and they're really good at all of the little things. I don't think we're the biggest team, the most athletic team, but, that's just what we do.
Liberty might do a couple of things different than anybody on your schedule, and they might be a little bit unique, but you have played teams that like to push the ball, like to score a lot of points that your defense has been able to handle and get the wins against. How much do you think your schedule and the teams that you've played this year have prepared you for this moment and this district tournament?
The schedule's been brutal the entire year. I don't think many teams in our district, have played, first of all, the SVC just with, Ursuline, Cheney, and East, playing those 2 teams 2 times each. Played Boardman twice, Struthers, Howland, Erie, McDowell. There really isn't anything that we haven't seen this year. How does it prepare us? Just maybe if we get into a situation where maybe another team throws something at us that we didn't expect. Maybe we're playing a team has a little bit of size that maybe we're not used to as a Division III team. There's nothing these kids aren't used to. I got a couple of friends in coaching now that really all it comes down to a lot of the simple things in basketball. The other day we were BSing with a couple of guys and he kind of yelled at me. He was like, "Hey, listen, man, you're either going to play man or they're going to play zone. You either have an offense for both or you don't." And there's nothing new that we haven't seen.
Looking at this team too, Coach, I mean, you guys are ones that don't have a whole lot of hype, but you find ways to win in other departments too. And I credit the guard play of you guys, and Mick Hergenrother does a great job of that. Talk to me about his contributions and just moving the ball and getting those open looks for guys, how influential he is in contributing to that, and how great the team has been in just getting that open look by moving the ball.
Mix everything you want in a senior leader. He's a 3-year starter for a reason. He has incredibly high basketball IQ. He works extremely hard. He does a really good job of understanding what his strengths are and what he does well. He's had to assume more of a scoring role this year as opposed to year past. I think he averaged around 13, 14 points per game as a junior. This year he's around 20. Our offense is kind of geared toward getting him in a position to attack, put some kind of pressure on the defense, whether it's for him or creating for others. We're not the biggest team. We're not a team that's going to pound it inside 15, 20 times, but we are blessed to have, 4 or 5 players that can really shoot the ball well from outside. So we like to spread the floor a little bit and allow Mick to kind of create for those guys. And, when they collapse on him, he's very good, at hitting the open man. Mick's right now, Mick is the second all-time assist leader at Cardinal Mooney. On top of that, he's going to be a guy he's scored over 700 points. He's just a great all-around player, and the players really know how to play off of them. Most of our guys come from like 3 grade schools, St. Charles or Holy Family or, some other public schools in the area. They all know Mick, and Mick's been one of the better players since he's been in the 5th grade. So they're all used to playing around him and with him.
Coach, we call it riding the roller coaster. You can call it riding momentum, whatever you want to call it. This team has been able to bounce back from some tough losses. They've been able to split with some teams that have beat them earlier in the season. Talk about this team's ability to keep momentum through the tough schedule and the mental toughness of this team that you've seen throughout the season.
We have a saying on our team. We call it the next play, and we kind of try to use that for everything that we do, whether it's the next game, the next play in a game, the next drill we're doing in practice. You just move on and keep your head down. To be honest with you, I know we're 15-9. I know we have 9 losses. I know it looks like if you look at our schedule, we've won 3 in a row, lost 3 in a row, won 5 in a row, lost 3 in a row. It looks like a roller coaster. There was really only one game we really didn't show up mentally prepared. We really didn't show up and have the fight that we usually have. That was the first time we played Ursuline. The other times our kids have laid it on the line. I can honestly look at them and say, like, there's nothing more we could have left out there on the floor. Like, even this past Friday night, we didn't play very well against Crestview, but it wasn't because of a lack of effort. It wasn't because of a lack of mental focus. We didn't make shots. You hit the nail on the head. We take a lot of outside shots, and we've been pretty good with our guard play throughout the year. But, when you have smaller guards and their strengths are shooting the basketball, most of your shots are going to come from 15 to 20 feet out. You're going to go through shooting slumps. You're going to go through, games where you can't miss. We played Boardman back in January. They beat us 46-39. I mean, we scored 39 points. Couldn't buy a bucket. Then we play them, 3 weeks later, and we hit 11 threes or 12 threes, whatever it was. It wasn't a difference of effort, game plan. The game plan was the same. We just made shots. So how did we handle that? There really hasn't been much of the rah-rah speeches or worrying about these guys' mental psyche. We have 6 seniors that are battle tested. Like you guys said, they've been through it. They've been in this game before. They've made it further than this before. We just lean on them to provide leadership to the younger players, and the younger guys are following because they've laid the groundwork for them.
No matter if you're at Ursuline or Mooney, you know that support system for boys basketball and just athletics in general is always great. So how important is the Mooney faithful going to Salem in this one? And how important have they been making that roller coaster ride a little smoother throughout the season?
It's very important. Our kids, just like any kids, they enjoy playing in front of a crowd. We have a great student section. We have a great following, especially the last couple of years. No coincidence you start winning more the last 3 or 4 years, more people start to show up. When we get to the big games, we tend to show out. And like I said, we're a defensive-minded team. We like to force a lot of turnovers. And, when we're on defense, that crowd's making noise, and it really puts a lot of pressure on the offense to hit the right guy and be able to attack. And, when we're rotating and flying around, it's kind of weird that the noise can kind of drown out everything else, and we really feed off of that.
Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, helping us preview this district semifinal game that you have tonight and talking more about this program. We wish you the best of luck, and hopefully we can talk to you again real soon about more tournament games.
I appreciate it, guys. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Coach.
Coach Kerry Palermo, the head coach down in Cardinal Mooney for the boys basketball program. They play Liberty tonight in Salem. 7 o'clock tip. Alec Caberna will be there with the call. It's going to be a fun one.
This is going to be a cool game, too, for Alec, because he's covered both these teams a lot during the season, both Mooney and Liberty. So, I mean,
it's kind of like for you when Campbell and Fitz played each other.
Yeah. So it's one of those rare instances, and it's with the playoffs. So, I mean, you got a pretty good announcer behind it, too, tonight, people. So, I mean, well worth your money. And, I mean, he knows both.
Alec's getting some big. I mean, he's at the game tonight. He's going to Cuyahoga Falls tomorrow to do Garfield and Liberty's regional semifinal game. I'm guessing if one or both of them win, he'll be back there for the finals on Saturday. A lot of big games for Alec. He's put in the work. I'm glad to see him get rewarded with it.
Yep, absolutely. It should be a fun one for him.
Fun one for us tonight. I want to go down the schedule tonight just to reiterate everything before we get out of here. Once again, all these games available for one payment of $9.99. You can go to ysnlive.com/live and click on any of the games to really buy your online ticket. Make sure you go to that green box that says purchase your online ticket for $9.99. Do not follow any of the links. Don't click on advertisements. Scroll past our sponsors. Find that little green box on where you would normally play the free games. and make sure you know what you're paying for. Got to reiterate that every time. Cardinal Mooney versus Liberty, 7 o'clock at Salem. Alec Caberna will have that call. At Howland, it's going to be Camel versus Cardinal. Ty, it's going to be you and Noah Ricks both on the call at 7 o'clock from Howland. And then in Struthers, St. Thomas Aquinas versus Badger. Matt Morrison will have the call there at 7 o'clock. And then me and DJ making the trip to Barberton for the regional semifinals. Norton versus West Branch will be tipping off at 6 o'clock in Barberton. And then Salem versus Northwest will happen about 20 minutes following the conclusion of that West Branch game. All the games available for you. One payment of $9.99. It doesn't get any better, Ty, than that.
No, it doesn't, Anthony. And I mean, exciting time as we're going to have less teams. I mean, my heart aches a little bit because it's going to mean less basketball. But at the same time, we are excited. We're going to be starting our previews on baseball, softball soon. So look forward to that. Of course, tomorrow, too, is our Wednesday. I don't know. Do we still have plans for Gary Altizer coming on?
Absolutely, because we have a lot of sectional results over the weekend to talk about.
I was hoping we were still planned on Wednesday. I know we were having a little bit shift in dates, but Gary Altizer coming on Wednesday. And of course, you never know who could pop up on Running Point. So always stay tuned.
Yeah, and the other thing that you have to realize is like today, we didn't have Abby Davidson confirmed yesterday before the end of the show, and got to keep the date on our socials. It'll be promoted on there, and we'll be back tomorrow from 12 to 2. As always, Casual Sports Podcast coming up next, Power Hour from 3 to 4, and then a bunch of basketball, regionals and districts, boys and girls on the network tonight. Don't miss a minute of it. $9.99 gets you access to all the games, and it's no better deal than YSN. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you all tomorrow after our 20 hour.